my channel. I'm Kalani. So as usual, I'm here with another useful lesson. Well, I always consider it my responsibility to guide you to use the language correctly and appropriately. When we learn a language, there are certain things that we think we already know, but maybe you don't know them perfectly. So, today I'm going to discuss something apparently very simple, but can be challenging at times. Using personal titles appropriately to refer or address people with respect. Well, we use different titles for different people depending on their gender, marital status, or the positions, ranks that they have attained. Well, using these titles can be challenging at times. If you had any doubts or confusions regarding how to use these titles appropriately, this video is gonna help you a lot. Let's see some titles that are used very often to address people. Let's get started with the simplest. Mr. Well, it goes without saying that Mr. refers to men. You can use this for a grown-up person, either married or unmarried, because it doesn't reveal the marital status of the person. For an example, Mr. Charles Smith, or you can say Mr. Smith. Well, did you notice in the first example, I used Mr. Charles Smith, which is the full name of the person. And in the second example, I took Mr. Smith, which is the surname or the last name of the person. Remember that when you use these titles, you always say either the full name of the person or the last name, the surname of the person. So you can say Mr. Charles Smith or Mr. Smith is appointed the new president of the company. Well, you can also use Mr. before an office to refer the person who holds it. For example, Mr. President. Let's take the three titles that we use to address women. Miss, Mrs., Miss. Let's take one by one. Miss. Well, the title Miss refers to only unmarried women. You can use this for unmarried women. For an example, Miss Anne Mary, or you can use Miss Mary, which is the surname or the last name of the person. Look how I pronounce the title Miss. It is Miss. The S is pronounced as Miss. As in kiss, this, you pronounce it as Miss. The next title that you can use to address women is Mrs. Mrs. Look how I pronounce this title. It is Mrs. So you can say, for an example, Mrs. Marie Fernando, or just take the surname Mrs. Fernando. Well, many women after marriage take their spouse's surname. They use their spouse's surname. So in such cases, for an example, you can say Mrs. Michelle Obama, or just the surname Mrs. Obama. The next title that you can use to refer to women is Ms. M.S. Ms. Well, this is an unspecified title used for women. It doesn't indicate the marital status of the woman. Well, you can use this for both married or unmarried women, especially in cases where you don't know whether the lady is married or unmarried. In fact, if you don't want to take a risk offense, you can use the title Ms. Well, look how I pronounce Ms. It is Ms. Let's take the pronunciation difference between what I discussed earlier, M-I-S-S, Miss, which refers to unmarried women, and Ms, which refers to both married and unmarried women. Well, in the first one, we pronounce the S as Miss. In the second, it is Miss. Miss, Miss. Well, learn the pronunciation difference correctly, because even if you mean to use the title Miss, the person may get offended if you pronounce it incorrectly. So, for an example, you can say, I met Miss Anne Mary yesterday. You don't know whether Miss Anne Mary is married or unmarried. So you use this title, Miss Anne Mary or Miss Mary. Well, I think this is the best title for you to use for female when it comes to business situations or any other formal situations. Apart from those titles that you have learned earlier, there are two other words that you can use to address a person. Sir and ma'am. Ma'am, which is the short form of madam. Well, the common usage of these two words is to address a person in a higher position or someone superior to you. But remember, you can use sir and ma'am for any person depending on gender, regardless their position or the status. Let's take sir. This refers to males, and if you don't know the name of the person, you can just call him sir. For an example, excuse me sir, this is my seat. Or, excuse me sir, the seat is occupied. Now let's take ma'am. Well, say that you don't know the name of the woman that you are talking to. It can be a stranger that you have never known before. So just call her ma'am. For an example, you are waiting in the bus station and you see the next person's bag open. So you can say, excuse me ma'am, your bag is open. Well, by calling somebody sir or ma'am, it doesn't make you inferior to the other person. It is only a way of showing respect. Remember that. Let's see how to use the titles doctor and professor. Well, the title doctor refers to a person who has obtained the highest degree. For an example, you can say, Dr. Pandit W.D. Amradeva is a great artist. And professor, well, this title refers to a university academic who has reached the highest rank. For an example, you can say, Professor Steve West is the Vice Chancellor of University of the West of England. How to address a religious leader? Well, this is where many of us get stuck because most people don't know how to address a religious leader politely and with respect. In fact, when we talk to a religious leader, it's always with enormous respect that we talk to them. Well, I'm going to tell you two titles that we can use to address a religious leader. Number one, Reverend. When we write it, it comes as R-E-V. For an example, you can say Reverend Father Malcolm Fernando. Another title that you can use for religious leaders is Venerable. It's Venerable. Well, this is also a title of honor. For an example, you can say Venerable Gangodavira Somatheru. How would you address other leaders? It can be a country leader, international leaders, or any higher officials of a state. You can use the title His Excellency or Her Excellency depending on gender. For an example, His Excellency President Barack Obama addressed the nation. Well, there is another title that you can use especially to refer political leaders, ambassadors, high officials of a government, state, that is Honorable. Well, you can say Honorable Prime Minister Boris Johnson. Well, I believe that after watching this video, you are much more confident to use titles appropriately. Especially when it comes to a formal setting, it's very important that you address persons by these titles. When you talk to a person, You have to use a title until the person allows you to call just by name. Well, let's meet again in another useful video, but don't forget to subscribe to my channel and also click the bell icon next to that so that you get instant notifications of all my new video uploads.